First of all, Gene, I don't know about you. What's a brand you would say you had a good personalization experience with?
That's interesting. I actually think probably I shop at Newegg, and they do a good job both of doing the algorithmic kind of things like watching what I've left in the cart and offering me a discount now and then. But they also have done a good job of connecting their product base with other related products. And while it seems easy to do, they have to know what kinds of things I buy and what kinds of things I don't, because I may be a PC builder or I may not be. I may be a component buyer from them. So to me their communications seem really on point, and when they do reach out, I tend to pay attention to it because it's been a better experience.
Yeah. What would you say in your experience makes you more likely to be a buyer in a personalization experience? What are the things that are most likely to resonate with you and push you over that edge to actually make a purchase?
For me, probably top is relevance. I get turned off really bad by irrelevant proposals. They try to sell me something that I have no interest in. My wife and I don't have children, so as soon as you start down that road, I'm done. I've checked out. And then probably behind that is as you'd expect, it's price.
Yeah.
Right. So having either feeling like I got a good deal or actually getting a good deal is part of that too.
Yeah. No, I think I'd say the same for me. And I think, personally, when somebody sends me an offer that aligns with what I have in mind for the value of that product, and it's at the right time, I can be pushed over the edge relatively easy if that timing is right. One of the things I've noticed a lot is that a lot of the brands that are out there doing some sort of personalization, that the timing is off. They get me right after I've made the purchase, and they get me. I made that whether it's a big purchase or small purchase that I just don't make very frequently. They get me after I've made the purchase, and so they're off on their timing. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if you've had a similar experience with that, or any thoughts about how AI is changing how that experience, or could change that experience for consumers.
Yeah. Well, certainly, we have the ability to digest much bigger amounts of data than we have, and to be predictive about things like the rests that customers take. And so in some cases, you may feel like, you're being pestered, right? You made a purchase and now you've received another offer. It's like, I was just at your store. I just bought your stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that the timing is really important. And the AI, I think, facilitates the ability to understand those cycles, the cycles that you can't see algorithmically. They don't follow the holidays. It's somebody else's. Each of us is unique as a consumer. And so everybody's circumstances change. I changed jobs, and right before I did that, I bought a computer. And who knows how many different things I reset with Newegg and with other vendors as a result. I could go look at my junk mail and find out.
Yeah. You touched on something really interesting there. I mean, that predictive or prescriptive nature of using AI to be prescriptive, I guess, as you conduct marketing activities. It's like that. It's a conversation between the brand and the consumer, and I feel like too often that prescriptive nature and what they're doing with me just isn't there. And to your point, there's enough data out there today that it should be there.
You could be better than this, right? It's funny you use the word prescriptive, and I've really seen some shocking similarities between two very different things. We're here to talk about marketing, but if you look at the healthcare world, some of the things that AI is allowing us to do is, traditionally, we've always treated conditions. And we even, from a vocabulary perspective, we talk about it that way. I'm taking this for my rash and that kind of thing. But as we've moved forward, what AI is letting us do is understand more and more about the individual. And we're moving from treating conditions to treating people. This is like the medical equivalent of one-to-one marketing, right? I'm no longer marketing to a condition, which is a group of people who have this, but a single person, and understanding their internal biome, and understanding how drugs are bioavailable in their system, not generically on a whole, and not it's not like pouring acid on a human. That's a bad thing, right? Yeah. We know that for everyone, but giving these nuanced molecules and synthesized molecules to different people can yield very different results. And I think we're about to see not marketing, but a very a revolution in how healthcare works, very much akin to how the marketing should work, right? You should know about me, not about the people who look like me, not about the people in my neighborhood, not about the people who drive the same car I drive.
Yeah. The other aspect of this that I think is coming into play is e-commerce, and the fact that, we're moving to an environment where so many people buy so many things online. And obviously in that environment, the ability to collect data from the consumer is required because you're sending them the product. And so that sort of opens up whole new worlds in terms of what you can do when you apply AI to that type of data, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm. It definitely so. The opportunities to personalize in there are huge, and the relatively low cost of using AI it democratizes it, really. Yeah. It's not just the people who can afford a data center full of servers. It's anyone who can afford a $20 a month subscription to something. And those costs, even as low as they are now, they are plunging dramatically. The original models that ChatGPT is based on have been optimized to use 40 times less compute than they did when they were released 14 months ago.
It's amazing.
It's crazy how cheap the cycles have gotten, and necessary, because the plans, even though we're building massive data centers, that, with the idea that scale is the only thing that creates this reasoning ability and intelligence ability, and the ability for us to, very, very narrowly target, we're building all of these, and amazing, with the productivity we're getting out of the tools, it's going to be incredible, the ratio that we see out of those as they bring them on. But what took a data center a year ago, I can now run on my laptop. And that is the literal difference that we're seeing.
Yeah, it almost seems like the obstacle to moving toward this true one-to-one marketing is less about the technology, and it's more about what the people who are actually today going and executing the campaigns can handle. Can they actually handle treating me as an individual and everything that goes into that? Where do you see that going?
Well, I'm going to take a swerve on you, because this one-to-one personalization and the democratization actually might have a little bit of a dark side. I've been criticized because I put scammers in the category of marketers. They're blasting to an audience with a hope of securing just a couple of hits and bringing them in and being able to get what equates to them getting a sale. And traditionally, they did this by preying on people using very low quality text and the idea of that was to secure people who really didn't understand what they were reading and had placed a great trust in the fact that it came to them and had facts about them and that kind of thing. Or maybe it even didn't, but it gave the appearance that it did. The frightening thing to me is today, those same personalized, democratized tools can be used to create communications that are professional and polished. And if they've done it right, they can have trained a model on things from your bank or from your vendors and the people that you already trust. And that ability to imitate as a one-to-one marketer / scammer that's daunting. And we have to be able to think about the ramifications of that over time and protect against it, because the democratization that we talked about brings that same thing into being.
Yeah.
And the availability will drive those behaviors.
Yeah, no, I mean, no doubt. Being able to imitate a human opens up the door to all sorts of fraud, right? And people who can be scammed and taken in the wrong way. As we think about this move toward personalization and using this technology, are there any other areas from an ethical perspective that we ought to be considering as we think about personalizing? Where do you cross that line between being so creepy that you turn the consumer off to actually giving them that experience that they want?
There's not much distance between being targeted and being stalked, is what I'm hearing you say.
Exactly.
No, I think it is. You run that possibility. As we go across our devices and we see, marketing cookies and those kinds of things follow us. I've noticed in my own household that when I have a house guest and they leave, I get personalized content that was attached to them, not attached to me. There's maybe not a creepiness, but it's an error, right? It didn't understand that the device IDs that they used were different than the ones they just knew it was in the household. So we're back to treating conditions instead of individuals, and that's problematic for lots of reasons, obviously.
Yeah, very interesting. So we're in this world. People are buying things online. The data's flowing like crazy. The technology's evolving every single week, it seems like. Where's this all end? Where's it going?
I don't think anyone knows, honestly, at this point. But I think it opens up exciting possibilities, right? For it maybe the if we were to set an objective, maybe the objective is I mentioned earlier about things going to my junk mail, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the objective is nothing should go to my junk mail because I'm so interested in all of it, right? That the vendor's communications are so targeted to me that I take them, I add them to the list of trusted senders that I want to listen to, right? You know, and the list that you're on and others are on that I pay attention to might be where they end up. So maybe all of that stuff that's in whether our spam folders or just our, you know, non-priority folders, if everything that came in was relevant, that would be a heck of a target to hit.
That'd save me a lot of time. That would be awesome. You know, it almost feels like you could get to a world where you're not even the one doing the buying. You have the AI agent representing you that's making the buying decision, and it's advertising to AI, right?
You know, it's really interesting. I've wondered for some time how long it was going to take for, and it accelerates the processes, right? A lot of people believe that our next big thing is going to be artificial intelligence agents, and that the first company to bring those out and truly get them right is going to be one of those powerhouses, one of those concentrations as we go forward. And I tend to agree, and I don't see why, you know, the amount of time that humans spend negotiating minutia between ourselves and between ourselves and our vendors. I had a travel interruption this week, and if I had the ability for an agent to go and act on my behalf and reschedule my flight and add a day to my hotel and add a day to my rental car, it would have simplified life for both myself and others who are in my circle who we're all now dealing with this. And those are transactional. They're defined. This is not difficult. So as we move to an area where we do have an AI agent, I think a lot of that will fall away. And I don't know what I'm going to do with my time that I get back. What will you do with your time that you get back?
I know what I would do with my time. I won't bore our viewers with that today, but yes, I have lots of fun things I'd like to do with my time. You know, it's so exciting, you know, just truly thinking about the efficiencies that are being gained through all this. And to your point, the time that you're going to get back as a consumer. I mean, ultimately, just the better experience that we're all going to have as consumers as a result of all this, right? It's, you know, you getting exactly what you want, when you want, delivered in a way that you want it, so that you ultimately make the decisions that you want. So it's truly exciting time.
I wondered, and I wondered aloud years ago about, you know, people. I felt like certain restaurants that we dealt with and such probably should be able to tell me when I'll come back. You know, why wouldn't your neighborhood, you know, favorite pizza place not know that it's time?
Yeah.
You are about to order a pie, so why don't I just send him one?
Yeah.
You know, and or maybe, you know, obviously send you a treat, but send him one and make that decision for him, just like you said, or reach out to your AI agent who might then suggest it to you. You know, if you ask, you know, what am I going to eat tonight? I've been presented this offer because they knew it was time for you to order.
That's pretty wild. Do you see in any of the technologies that are out there that are being commonly used? I mean, you hear about ChatGPT a lot. There's other tools out there, new opportunities for marketing. You know, one of the things that I've enjoyed about using the technologies that are out there today in the marketplace is I'm not being marketed to through those technologies. Where do you see that going? Do you see that changing?
I hope not, because just like you said, you know, for me, the large language model experience being devoid of brand names. If you ask ChatGPT or Claude or another how to build a fence, it will give you a lengthy dissertation on the materials that you need, the skills that are required, the process for building it, but it never once mentions a couple of brands that I won't mention for fears of a DMCA hit. So that doesn't come up. It's not trying to sell you something. And I think if we can create, honestly, it's the experience I was looking for from the internet. And we've driven to an ad-based internet. But when, there has to be an opportunity there for, and maybe the lesson is, combine your offer with that information, right? Don't come to me because you know I'm about to build a fence from whatever factors that you've got and everything else, and then present it to me in a relevant way that contains that extra information of, we've got this great product to help you hold it upright, and whatever it is, and market to that need and market to the process, because you know what the process of building a fence is. So show me how you're helping me build a fence, not just that you're giving me a discount on product.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
And the generative AI tools can do that for you. I think that maybe from a marketing perspective is really one of the things that you could do is, that those kinds of details are useful to the end consumer. The generative AI can add those easily.
Yeah.
You take the product SKUs that you want to put on sale and then have the generative AI figure out what projects would be possible with those and generate the companion text that ends up as payload with those, recommender decisions.
Right. Well, the other interesting thing, in addition to the messaging and the offer and the companion text, as you mentioned, is the actual imagery itself, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the images that I'm seeing created by this technology today get more and more real every single day. Mm-hmm. And you can envision a world where every single person has a totally different image on the ad that's being served to them that is going to resonate the most with them.
Well, sure. It's a side anecdote, but the state of AI imaging right now and image generation, you probably noticed that text is still kind of its downfall. Yeah. It gets text right part of the time and not other parts. But I actually think that that's a really interesting indicator for us, because in my mind, these AI tools, we're learning about them at the same time that they're learning about us. And part of them learning about us is for them to be able to form and communicate in a non-text way, but using text and forming those images so that we still recognize them. I have saved a lot of those images from this era because I think it's weeks or months and those errors are going to go away. Yeah. And I'll remember them fondly. I'm not sure that marketers will when it misspells their brand or something like that. Sure, yeah. But for me, I think there's going to be some nostalgia about that. The days before everything was exactly the way you asked for it.
That's interesting. So on that topic, let's bring up the sort of the big elephant that's been out in the room. When do we achieve AGI, artificial general intelligence?
I think so. I'll first give you the industry's consensus seems to be 5 years, and with it being 2024 now, you could generalize that as the end of the decade. And it ranges from that and out to 10 years or more. And then reeling it in, there's people that think it already exists. And then there's people who think that our current large language models are not the path to AGI, that it's going to take a different path, perhaps through mathematics or another study. Google's DeepMind just recently announced that they have a model in the labs that for geometry is as good as an excellent high school student at geometry. I wasn't a fan of geometry. I was an algebra guy. But the advancements that we see are going to continue to drive beyond where we are, and it's hard to really guess when and what combination of these things will yield AGI. Not to get too technical, but some of the newer nuanced things that are happening in the open source world with mixture of expert models and that, when you look at it and look at the possibility for how you can nest and architect these things, large language models may not be AGI. But I think you could put them together in a way that it'd be really hard to figure out that it wasn't.
Yeah.
And 10 years ago, if we'd had ChatGPT, we would have called it AGI. I am confident of that.
We've been looking at data sets that talk about how people move through a store and where they go once they enter through the door. Yeah, it is interesting to think about how could artificial intelligence be used to either analyze that behavior and then provide the brand with better insights in terms of how to better optimize that experience for the consumer upon their next entry. I think even perhaps more interesting is how could you influence that behavior while they are there, while you have the consumer captured. Right. And the interesting thought there is today in the store experience, there is not really the touch point technology, so to speak. Everything is already placed on the shelves. Everything is already fixed within the store, but you could see, a future where maybe there are additional touch point technologies within the store that help direct your behavior or optimize that experience while you're in the store.
Well, AI was some of the original AIs, and I used it today when I came to the office, and I used a GPS. Pathfinding algorithms have been around for quite some time, and sometimes we call them AI, sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's just an algorithmic solution. But you could see how perhaps you grab those and analyze the behavior, or gamify it and give people some way that you challenge them to navigate the store in a way that you'd like them to, and give them some kind of small token rewards along the way, right? If you check in at these 5 stations, then you get a coupon or those kinds of things. I think gamification is not used enough with the consumer, and it doesn't have to be something where we're playing a game or I'm going to celebrate a win, but you gamify it in ways that are nuanced and attractive, or maybe give someone who as a parent that it's a scavenger hunt for their kids.
Right.
As long as you tell me when they're there, so I don't be there at the same time, it's all good.
Yeah, exactly. I think about our grocery store has this Monopoly game that they seem to bring out every few years, right? And you try to collect all the pieces, and I think you get a free set of pots and pans. I've never won the pots and pans. Never can get those last few.
How do you cook?
What's that? Yeah, exactly. I've never won those pots and pans. I'd love to have them someday. But, you can see all of that evolving with this technology. And really, as you were talking, I was thinking about loyalty programs, right? And the merging of loyalty programs with this technology that is personalized to your behavior as a consumer to motivate. At the end of the day, what's the purpose of a loyalty program? It's to motivate you to buy more, by giving you rewards. And so...
And so think about it. You don't even have to set up physical kiosks throughout the stores. You could deliver a virtual challenge to that person when they come into your loyalty app as they enter your store, and the challenge might actually be indicative of a path through the store that you want them to take involving certain products.
Right.
And in order for them to satisfy the exit condition, they provide we have pictures of the SKUs or just pictures of the product on the shelf. You're introducing them to a product that perhaps they haven't bought before, again in the pursuit of some reward that has a reasonable value exchange for them. And there's no reason that I don't think we look enough in cross-industry applications. Very early in my career, non-AI, we took the check processing technology that the grocery store used to verify your check, and we used it in a development environment, and a development in this case was a fundraising environment. This fundraiser actually got tons and tons of very low dollar checks, and it was costing them almost as much to process the checks as the check was worth, which is not a good deal for a charity. So we brought in this retail technology and showed them. So I think we have to think outside of the box when it comes to these algorithms. The Pathfinder algorithms that are in your GPS are the same ones that are in the games you play. It's the same spatial nuance, and certainly something that we have a little bit of experience.
So, Gene, we talked a little bit about just how we all go about our daily lives. There's all these different things that influence what I'm going to spend money on through the remainder of my day. I'm not going to get gas later because I got gas 2 days ago, and I don't need groceries today, right? My wife went yesterday. So there's all these things and these patterns in your behavior. Are there any other patterns that, as we think about leveraging AI to analyze, that we ought to consider to make that experience truly personalized and not have these awkward blips or just hitting me with the right message, right?
I think you hit on the outliers, right? Again, as we move from treating conditions to treating people as addressing groups versus addressing individuals have their own lives, and in my own, I've had several life changes that retailers did not adapt to. I've retired at least twice and recently unretired, and what I find interesting is some of the folks that I've dealt with have already figured out that I'm not who I was. During my last retirement, I did a significant amount of gardening. And even as we've entered this season and from the last season, I got to the point where my seed bank was essentially full. But I have ordered no seeds this year. And that is going to be a pattern that I think AIs will start to understand better and understand that I'm no longer engaged in this activity. I kind of have this mental view of a topical momentum thing where you have a certain momentum on a topic, something you engage in, something you're doing. And when that momentum changes, and for me, gardening went away. That's notable. And it probably is indicative of something else, right? You could use that as a flag or an indicator of a life change, much like, the new mover cards. That was like the number one marketing thing for, well, in my world for some time, because it signified somebody who was about to spend a whole bunch of money on a swath of goods and services. So get in line first. That's why that new mover packet that's the only place, did you know, as I understand, it's the only place that Home Depot puts coupons.
Yeah,
they not get a % off anywhere else.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, that's you have these significant life events, retirement, having a child. They change the way you behave as a consumer. And if you, as a brand, you don't have the technology or systems that's smart enough to pick up on those changes, you're going to be, missing the mark, right?
And you'll be spending marketing money that you shouldn't be. And who knows, maybe you have an affiliate partner who would love to know that this person is, they're now buying bathrobes instead of slacks for, dress slacks for work.
Yeah, the other one that comes to mind is seasonality. And obviously most businesses, I think, probably have a good handle on just the ups and downs of their business and how that happens, seasonally. But I even think about myself, and I happen to be an outdoorsman. I enjoy all different types of outdoor sports, and there's different seasons associated with those. And so my likelihood of buying a certain good or service that I have a strong propensity for goes up or down through the year based on what I'm focused on during that time of the year, right? And those are patterns that I know certain retailers can pick up in terms of what they stock on their shelves, but my pattern isn't always predictive, right? Some people like to buy things in the off season, and so that's an interesting trend, I think.
Yeah, and again, the capability of the tools is really to see the nuance and see the patterns that humans can't detect, that our traditional algorithms haven't been able to detect, and I think there's still room to get better, to get significant, kind of to take that bell curve and to keep moving things outwards so that those outliers become smaller and smaller. We can see the behaviors more and more on those and be able to detect them. And the other thing is as you figure out all those patterns, you can ignore them, right? And start to look for what patterns exist in the rest of the data. I think we're going to see the kind of the era of the monolithic foundation model is I expect is going to be brief. I think we're going to have ensembles and entourages of models that are either good at specific things or that share the responsibility of, that we're going to pass it through one model that gets all the easy stuff, right? The ones we know, the repeat buyers, the people who get from us all the time. But we're not going to, right now, in a lot of cases, we stop and say, okay, that's what we got. Well, there's money left on the table there, right? You could go, and if you can find the patterns in those little hidden niches, you might, and those may be people who are buying from someone else and rather have them move them into your bell curve rather than someone else's. So I think the latent capability of the tools is there, and again, maybe we're weeks or months away, but that's probably years and decades in time.
Yeah, that is. One other topic that's kind of fascinated me, I've always been fascinated by the idea of the efficient market hypothesis, right? And how efficient can a market be? If you think about where the world's heading with AI, let's say you could use AI to achieve perfect efficiency in how a brand markets to its customers, right? Well, what about its competitor brand? The two can't be true for both brands, right? And so you can't ever see this state where everybody gets it right all the time. I don't know if you have any thoughts on kind of how those dynamics play out.
And maybe it's not a technical answer, but what you described just really sounds like an interesting arms race, right? How good is my AI versus how good is your AI, right?
That's the way I think about it.
If I get the timing right, I might have the wrong product, but I might still get the sale. You might get the timing wrong and have the wrong. It just those circumstances and the potential combinations of things, I think, get pretty significant.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, this has been great, Gene. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
To learn more about Buxton, visit our website at buxtonco.com.